Hello and welcome to the Introduction to the Danielson Framework for Teaching for the Teacher Education Program at Montana State University in Bozeman, Montana. The purpose of this screencast is to help you have a foundational understanding of the structure and language and the levels of performance in the Danielson Framework for Teaching, as well as how this plays into our tools and our assessments for the student teaching internship. We know that providing high quality teachers in schools is one of the most important factors in increasing student achievement, and it's our goal at Montana State University to prepare high quality teachers. I'm going to let Charlotte speak to the wisdom of practice and how the Danielson framework can help strengthen teacher quality. Sorry about that. Let's try that again.
The framework for teaching is a description of the complex work that teachers do. And it's grounded in research done over decades, but it is described in non-technical language that is accessible to practitioners as they analyze their own work and engage in professional conversations with colleagues. Now, the framework has taken this complex work, divided it into four major domains of teaching: planning and preparation, the classroom environment, instruction, and professional responsibilities. Of the four domains of the framework, domains 2 and 3, that is, the classroom environment and instruction, happen in the classroom. That is, they describe the interactive work between students and teacher. The other two, domains 1 and 4, that is, planning and preparation and professional responsibilities, are what we might call behind-the-scenes work. They take place not in the classroom, although they are essential to good teaching. Each of the four domains is divided into components, more detailed components, either 5 or 6 of them, depending on which domain it is. Both domain 2 and domain 3 actually have only 5 components, and each of those is further subdivided into some elements. So therefore, if you want to understand, let's say, the classroom environment, you can look and see that there are 5 components to it. There is the environment of respect and rapport, there's a culture for learning, there are classroom procedures, there's student behavior, and there's physical space. And each of those is further subdivided into its bits. It's a way to organize this complex work in a way that it can fit on one page, but that respects its complexity. While the framework for teaching is grounded in solid research, it also reflects what Lee Shulman has called the wisdom of practice. That is, it's common sense. When accomplished teachers reflect on what good teachers do, and they're asked to generate a list, they come up with things that are in the framework. It does not violate common sense, and if it did, it would be important to question the framework, not question the common sense.
So Charlotte spoke about the 4 domains, the components, and the elements. And I think it's really important to note her emphasis on the pragmatic elements, that the framework for teaching is about good teaching and it should make sense. And it's a way for us to promote professional conversations. The structure of the framework with the 4 domains is cyclical, much like the reflective cycle that our teacher candidates have learned about in their practicum experience, and they're continuing to practice in their student teaching experience, where it's continued growth, always thinking, always planning about these, and it follows nicely with those 4 domains. The other important consideration in the structure is that domains 1 and 4 are the off-stage supportive but equally as important domains for the on-stage classroom environment and instruction. You cannot have any of these be of high quality without the other. They are all reliant upon one another and important for that. So just to reiterate, you have the 4 domains, which funnel down into components, and then the elements within that. We also, within the Danielson framework, have levels of performance, and I'm going to let Charlotte speak to how to use the levels of performance.
The framework for teaching includes, for each component and each element, what I've called levels of performance that describe, in words, what teaching looks like at an unsatisfactory, a basic, a proficient, and a distinguished level. Those levels of performance are, in some ways, the heart of the framework for a lot of teachers because it helps to particularize performance. And a teacher can say, well, where am I wonder? And they look, and you sort of can't help yourself, actually, as a teacher. You look and you say, yeah, that cluster of words reflects what I do. And then your eye drifts to the right, to the next higher level, and you think, oh, sure, I can do that. Oh, I just never thought of it. Sure, I can do that. So the levels of performance then become an additional tool for analyzing performance and for engaging in professional conversation with others and to structure professional learning. Because, of course, teachers being perfectionists want to be perfect. And so it serves as a way to structure those efforts for professional improvement. The levels of performance are very useful for teachers to use in structuring their own professional growth. And incidentally, it's important to say that when I talk about teacher growth and teacher learning, it's not because I think that teaching is of poor quality and has to be fixed. It's that teaching is so hard that it's never perfect. No matter how good it is, it could always be better. And so the framework offers a tool to structure that learning.
So I think that that's a really important part of this, that it is a tool to help promote teacher growth. Obviously, for student teaching, we have to assign a grade, but it's a little bit different. Well, it's very different from any other coursework that you've ever done, in that you don't get these weekly quizzes, these weekly check-ins, and assigned a grade. Throughout the entire experience, we're focused on collecting evidence that you're ready to begin as a first-year teacher. So the 4 performance levels are unsatisfactory, which is harm to children level, basic, proficient, and distinguished. Our target level for the end of student teaching is basic. We want all teacher candidates to be basic in every single component in the Danielson framework. If you can demonstrate proficient level, that is fantastic, and we encourage you, again, just as Charlotte spoke to, this is how you can use the framework. We hope that you will do that. Please note that distinguished has been crossed out because that is the level for master teachers. Not that you couldn't demonstrate something there, but we really have sort of taken it off of the board for this process. The purpose of the Danielson framework, and Charlotte said this, is navigating professional conversations to help strengthen teaching. And that is how we want it to be used, is in conversations both written and spoken. Hopefully it'll provide a common language for you to have those conversations, because we want you to grow a lot throughout this whole experience. And we want to focus on the evidence that's collected during the student teaching internship, not the judgments, not the opinions, but the evidence. And we hope that the framework will be able to help you with that. So within the student teaching internship, there are 4 formal observations by the field supervisor. And of course, the cooperating teacher is a part of everyday interaction with teacher candidates. But when there are those 4 observations, we ask that this protocol is followed for those observations. And you can see here, I've noted what evidence could potentially be collected in the different steps along the way. So we have the pre-conference, and it's a conversation to help set the stage for the observation. What are the specific look-fors that the teacher candidate might ask of the field supervisor? The field supervisor has the lesson plan from the teacher candidate as part of this conversation, so it's been emailed or given to them, and so questions can be asked about the particular lesson plan. In the second, third, or fourth observation, perhaps there's some follow-up items. Last time you did this, what about this the next time? The observation happens, evidence is collected, what's happening verbatim, if you can, of exactly what happens during the lesson. That lesson length totally depends on the lesson structure, on the development of the children or the young adults that you're with. There's a lot of variables there, but it should be a complete lesson. Then the post-conference happens. Ideally, it's not right after the observation, and I know that that is a departure from what we've done in the past, but in this new model, what we really want to encourage is that the teacher candidate has time to really look at what happened in the lesson, and that's going to require that they look at student work, that whether that's exit tickets, whether it's a quiz, whether it's a check sheet, whatever that is, how can the teacher candidate bring evidence or of student learning or student non-learning from that lesson? The teacher candidate and the field supervisor, perhaps the cooperating teacher, bring completed observation tool to the meeting with evidence from the lesson so that it's filled out. They've taken what they've seen, they've put it into the observation tool, and then that is how you facilitate a conversation in that post-conference. So the midterm meeting happens following the second observation, and the purpose of that midterm meeting is really to review the progress. How's it gone so far? And then to set goals. Are there holes? Are there deficiencies in the evidence? Or simply just lack of evidence? I haven't been able to see this, or I'm wondering how we can collect some evidence, and you might even collect some evidence right there in the midterm meeting. The tools that you can use are the midterm Danielson Performance Assessment, which is a Word doc on our website. And I would strongly encourage you, as you're having all of these conversations, to use that Danielson Performance Assessment rubric, both for these conversations and then like for the teacher candidate to say, okay, where do I think I am and how could I get to that next level? And that those two are on our website. Then there are 2 more observations, and after that 4 total observations, you have a final meeting. And the purpose of this is a holistic analysis of the entire student teaching internship. So all of the observations, all of the pre and post conferences, all of the correspondence that you've had in the entire 14 weeks. And the purpose is really to bring closure to the student teaching internship. This is where the grade happens. The cooperating teachers evaluation is 25%. The field supervisors is 25%, totaling 50%, and that is based on that Danielson Final Performance Assessment. Basic in all components is the goal with this performance-based evaluation, and the same Danielson Performance Assessment rubric applies. So that is the goal and the tools that you can use in the final performance. I know this was very quick, but if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask them if you have them. We're here to help the student teaching internship be a positive experience for everyone, especially the children in the classroom or the young adults in the classroom, the teacher candidate, if possible, the field supervisor, and the cooperating teacher. And we want to help. We always encourage you to contact us sooner rather than later so that we can be proactive if there are concerns. The midterm meeting, when you set goals, you don't need to submit any paperwork at that point unless you have concerns, and we would strongly encourage you to get in touch with us either by phone or by email. Thanks so much for listening.